Ned and Lorenzo ran toward the call for help. They went to the Watsons' house. Help! Ned and Lorenzo looked up. They saw a bed hanging out of the ceiling. They saw Mr. and Mrs. Watson holding onto the bed for dear life. We are saved, cried Mrs. Watson. Of course we're saved, said Mr. Watson. Mercy has alerted the fire department. She is amazing, said Mrs. Watson. She is unbelievable. She is a porcine wonder, said Mr. Watson. Ned and Lorenzo ran upstairs. They picked up Mr. and Mrs. Watson. The Watsons' bed sighed loudly and crashed through the floor. Boom! Mr. Watson looked at the hole where the bed used to be. I have always believed very firmly in the fire department, said Mr. Watson. As have I, said Mrs. Watson. As have I. From outside the Watsons' house came a squeal. Gotcha! Said Eugenia. Ned and Lorenzo and Mr. and Mrs. Watson all went outside. Eugenia was sitting on the ground. Her arms were wrapped around Mercy's neck. Her cheek was resting on Mercy's back. Eugenia was breathing very loudly. This pig, she said, was on my property. We'd prefer that you did not call her a pig, said Mrs. Watson. We would prefer that you call her a porcine wonder, said Mr. Watson. After all, she did save us. She's a hero. She's a pig, said Eugenia. She started to cry. There, sister, said Baby. She bent over and patted Eugenia on the back. Mercy yawned. She was tired. I guess that's it, said Ned. Yep, said Lorenzo. Our work here is done. Wait, said Mrs. Watson. It's almost time for breakfast. Oink, said Mercy. That's right, breakfast, said Mrs. Watson. She kissed the top of Mercy's head. She looked up at the firemen. Do you boys like toast? In the Watsons' house, around the Watsons' kitchen table, sat Eugenia, Baby Lincoln, and Mr. and Mrs. Watson, and Ned and Lorenzo, and Mercy, of course. She was at the head of the table, in the seat of honor. And in the front of her, on her favorite blue plate, was a very tall stack of hot buttered toast. A toast to Mercy, said Mr. Watson, holding up his glass of orange juice. A toast to our darling, our dear, said Mrs. Watson. A toast to Mercy, said Baby. In my opinion, said Eugenia, pigs should not be toasted. In my opinion, pigs do not belong at the kitchen table. To our hero, said Mr. Watson. Where would we be without Mercy? Yes, said Mrs. Watson. Who would have saved us? I can't imagine, said Ned. Me neither, said Lorenzo. They all clinked their glasses. Mercy had another piece of toast. Outside the Watsons' house, the sun was rising. First, the sun was red, and then it was orange. It rose higher and higher. Inside the Watsons' house, Mercy was lying on the couch. She was getting ready to take a nap. Bright, bright is the morning sun, sang Mr. and Mrs. Watson together. But brighter still is our porcine wonder. Mercy smiled. She closed her eyes. She was asleep before Mr. and Mrs. Watson even finished the song. The end. So that book was Mercy Watson, To the Rescue, by Kate DiCamillo and illustrated by Chris Van Dusen. I hope you guys enjoyed that one because I do have more Mercy Watson books to read. So I will see you next time.